Today, I'm joined by a good friend of mine, one of my tour companions, an incredible artist who has transcended time. His career has had an incredible longevity, an icon, a legend in the music game.
Your mama's boyfriend.
Your mama's boyfriend. Grieves, welcome to the podcast, dude.
Good to be here, man, on this beautiful sunny fall day.
We have never done a podcast outside, but, you know, I feel like today was a good day to do it, dude, and we're at Constant Day Web because right now you're on tour with him.
Correct.
How's tour been going?
It's good. I mean, it's the East Coast, so for me, it's kind of a foreign market. We just don't really get out here that much. We kind of stay on the West. Like, the older I get, the more I'm just kind of focused on staying where we do better, you know?
Yeah.
So it's cool, though. It's nice to tap in on some of these markets and some of these places I've never even been to, so it's been nice to spend time with Webb. There's been a lot of time off. Got to use the studio and just kick it. It's gorgeous place to have time off.
Thank you for tuning in to the Mike Squires and Friends podcast. You can support by subscribing on YouTube or downloading on your preferred podcast platform. And definitely go do that because it helps us grow and I can have more incredible guests on the podcast. The Mike Squires and Friends podcast is proudly sponsored by DistroKid. Looking to broaden your musical horizons as an artist? Discover DistroKid. With its smooth and rewarding music distribution platform, DistroKid offers unlimited uploads while ensuring artists retain 100% of their royalties and earnings. Join the community of over 1 million artists who trust DistroKid to distribute their music across major platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, TikTok, Tidal, and so many others. Having personally used DistroKid since 2018, I can attest to their superiority amongst distribution services. Collaborating with fellow artists has become effortless, especially with the ability to easily send splits of songs, streamlining the creative process. With the DistroKid app, accessing these benefits is now more convenient than ever. Safely sign up or log in with two-factor authentication, upload releases on the fly, monitor earnings, and withdraw funds from your DistroKid bank. Stay updated on royalties through push notifications. Effortlessly share hyperfollow links, manage account details seamlessly, and track streaming stats from Spotify and Apple. Additionally, explore Mixia for professional grade mastering, DistroVid for music video distribution, and Instant Share for secure file sharing with collaborators, producers, and more. The DistroKid app is available on both iOS and Android. Download it today from the App Store or Google Play Store to revolutionize your music career. Visit distrokid.com/VIP/Mike Squires to get 30% off your first year membership. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of Mike Squires and Friends. I've been friends with you for a while now, but one thing I realize is I don't really know your story. You know what I mean? So I know that you were born in Chicago, right?
Correct.
And then you moved to Seattle.
Moved to Colorado next.
Okay.
My dad got a different job when we were kids, so we moved out there, which is kind of a big culture shock, moving from Chicago to what felt like at that time middle of nowhere Colorado, because it wasn't Denver, it was Fort Collins, and it was a really small, quiet town for us. It's, there's a university there. If you're from Fort Collins, I know it's not a small town, but it was to us when we moved there. It was weird, and we had a hard time acclimating, I would say.
What was one of the reasons you had a hard time acclimating?
It was just a total change of pace, and it's not that it was a bad change of pace. It's just it wasn't one that we necessarily wanted or was ready for, and, we fucked up a little bit.
So at what point are you becoming the Grieves that we know today? When are you starting to make music?
I mean, there was always something there. There was a stronger connection, I think, ever since I was a kid, but it wasn't me making music as a kid or anything like that. I think a lot of us have that. I think people in general that, the people that we meet at these concerts and stuff like that, they get those same kind of goosebumps and stuff like that. But I didn't want to start making those goosebumps until I was a little older. I thought rapping was really cool. I thought making beats was really cool too. I really liked that when 16, 17. My buddy Scotty ordered these purple belt-driven Newmark turntables from the back of the Source magazine. Because you just couldn't get them anywhere back then. This is the 90s. And we lived in this small town, so you couldn't just go buy cool shit like that, So yeah, we got these things, and then we'd spin. We had the Wu-Tang with the B-side, the 36 chambers with the B-sides with some of the instrumentals, and then we also had P.D. Pablo, the North Carolina song. We had that instrumental, so we was rapping over that a lot later on. But Yeah, I think that's the point where I learned like I was okay at it, you know? Like
Yeah.
I could rap. I could rap better than the people around me, but I didn't know that I would rap.
When did you put out your first song?
I don't really know, to be honest. I moved to Seattle in 2002.
Okay.
And just immediately started meeting people that made music. So that was new to me because there weren't any crews or anything in town. There was like one crew, but they were fucking whack in Colorado. So there was no exposure to other people making music. There wasn't anybody to level up off of, you know, like to learn from.
Yeah.
And so when I got to Seattle, I started meeting all these different people. And I met this guy named James, and he started bringing me around a bunch of different cats. We were in Olympia at the time, and he's like, yo, you got to meet my homie Ben. And I was like, oh, cool. He's like, yeah, Ben makes music too. He's got this group called Elevated Elements. It's doing really well. But, you know, he's going to college out here. It's cool. Meet Ben, kick it for a while. You know, he starts tapping me in with people in Seattle. I start working with a record label called Seven Hill.
Okay.
They help me put music out. Ben turns out to be Macklemore. Just kind of a weird, like, landed on planet Earth kind of thing, you know? Like, it was cool.
That is crazy. What's something that you learned from, like, because, you know, I think a lot of independent artists are kind of always chasing the label.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. So I was heavily inspired by, like, the Rhymesayers camp, right? Just never really thought that my idols would become my peers, but to me, that's the peak success, right? And that happened, you know, like eventually down the line, like I got put in a room with those guys and ended up with a contract with them. But I was never like on the hunt for the label. I strongly believed in the kind of like posse mentality. Like we're just going to do it with the homies. If it don't work, it don't work. That's okay. We're not really here to do big things. We're just here to do good things. And that worked for a long time. We had a lot of fun. We you know, back when Myspace was like really doing its thing, you know, we had a weekly in Seattle or a monthly in Seattle, and we would trade exposure. So we would be like, yo, we got this thing. It kind of has like a built-in audience of like 300 to 400 people. We do it every month. We see that you have something as well. Why don't we pull up to your thing? You come to our thing. We'll just make this trade. And so that's how we started touring. That's how we started kind of spreading the music on a regional level, at least. And we just kept it pushing. And then eventually that got attention from, you know, other bigger artists. And then the other bigger artist labels started paying attention, and, you know, a domino effect.
What was it like when you finally connected with Rhymesayers?
This is the most exciting thing in my life, dude. I was so excited, you know, like it was, whoa, you know, like finding that mix CD at the skate park and, you know, the late 90s with like the headshots on it and stuff, and not knowing who it was for like 2 years, right? And having to be like playing it for people in my Toyota Corolla, being like, this shit's dope. Don't know what it is, don't know who it is, but this is sick. And then there's this cat named Dusty from Iowa, and he's like, oh, that's Atmosphere. We're like, oh, shit. Cool. So just that whole journey from that, you know, finding that and then taking us all the way to, you know, signing papers was pretty magical, man. It definitely shows that, like, there was something in the mix.
Can you paint the picture of like what it was like? Did you just wake up one day and see an email?
Nah.
Like how did that even come together, you know?
I mean, I tapped in with somebody before that. And, you know, they kind of offered me kind of what I was talking about, like that posse situation. Like we ran together for a while. But it was pretty self-serving for that person. It didn't really yield any benefits towards anybody else. And once we realized that we were kind of just giving all of our time, money, and energy into them, we're like, nah, we can't do this no more, because it was making me really unhappy. So we stopped doing that. And at this time, I had already known, like, a lot of the Rhymesayers guys. I already knew all of them. I had toured with Atmosphere in 2007 at this point. So I was feeling pretty distraught. I was just about to go out on tour with the Cunning Linguists in like 2009. And I was like, I'm done. I don't want to do this no more. Like, if this is how it feels, like, right now, how's it going to feel later? Like, this just sucks. I'd rather just, take all this money and time and energy and put it into a studio and do that, like, do good things, not big things kind of a thing. But some of the people I was telling that to, they're like, you're kind of crazy right now. Like, your momentum is strong and a lot of people are talking about you. And I was like, once again, if I'm not happy, what's the point? But POS was like, yo, you could do whatever you want, but you just got to talk to one person before you finalize your decision. And that person was Sadiq from Rhymesayers. And we talked back and forth for a long time. It wasn't it wasn't the wake up and be like, hey, kid, we got Rhymesayers on. Like, it was none of that shit, dude. It was a lot of back and forth, and I was trying to figure out, like, what the next play was, because I had just turned down a distribution deal with that previous person. And I felt bad. I was like, damn, I had a chance to really, like, maybe do it, but I can't do it under these circumstances, or else I will sour the taste in my mouth for this game. And
I think that's an interesting point that you bring up, though, because I think sometimes artists get offered something and they get very excited about it right away, and sometimes they end up locking themselves into something that isn't really a good fit for them. I
mean, I did that too, but
do you have any advice for, an artist that might be getting offers and opportunities right now? And
yeah, I mean, there's two things, right? There's the numbers, and then there's your heart. So there's, like, your heart normally wants, especially in my situation, like when we finally got the papers from Rhymesayers, there's some things on there that weren't very exciting, and I was terrified to negotiate because this was something I really wanted, just because it really defined this, like, level of success for me, my idols becoming my peers. I don't want to push the envelope. I don't want to be like, hey, that doesn't really seem fair to me, Luckily, I was surrounded by people that didn't give a fuck, and were like, we are not accepting that. So we pushed back on our first one, and that was a really scary moment for me. I sat by the phone, like, when we pushed that first revision, I sat by the phone. I was nervous, and I was expecting, Sadiq to call and be disappointed. I was expecting, atmosphere to not like me. I was all up in my head about it. It just wasn't true. It was business. They were completely fine with it and expecting it. So that's something I always try to communicate, is like, most of the time you're not getting what's supposed to be the final version of these things. It's a negotiation. It's business, even if you love each other. So advocate for yourself. Also understand you're not going to get everything you want. You're not king shit here. Like, I don't know my masters. And I wasn't gonna. So, that's something I signed into. And that's what it is. Figure out what you're willing to, how much shit you're willing to eat. And if that matches up with what you want to do, you should do it. But we're also at a point where, like, labels aren't an entirety, like, they're not an entirely important thing these days.
No, you can do a lot independently, dude.
Look at where we're sitting, man. No label paid for this.
No, that's true.
It's very inspiring. Like, I just recorded a song on a $13,000 mic yesterday that an independent artist with no label bought, and has another one that's even more expensive down there that I'm like, shit. Like, we don't necessarily need to be giving half of our money and lifetime masters to labels anymore. You might be able to figure it out without them.
Yeah, dude. So, where are you at right now in your career?
So, we were on tour together when the world shut down, and I had been my partner, love of my life, pregnant with our first child. And I started looking at things so much differently, being like, whoa, I got nothing to leave other than, like, a legacy, but you can't eat that, right? So what am I going to do? I need to own everything I do moving forward. Need to own it. Need to own everything. Need to, had this pretty immediate change in how I felt about my current situation, because I never really thought about money before. And now it's like, whoa, I got this kid on the way. Like, we live in the hood. Like, we shouldn't be there. Like, need a better house. I don't want him to want for nothing. I think it's a pretty natural reaction.
Yeah, as a father.
Yeah. So, call the label up, send some papers over. It was like, can I get out? I don't want to do this no more. And they obliged, which was great, I actually really appreciate that. That was dope. Like, they saw I might have been in a panicky state. I mean, the whole world shut down. We're in the middle of COVID, and I got a kid on the way. Just lost the whole entire bag on that tour. Like,
it was scary, dude.
By the time that bus pulled away from my house, I was like $40-something thousand in debt. So it was like, I'm $40K in debt. I don't have any way to make this money because I can't leave my house. That's a lot of money. Fuck.
Yeah, dude. Can we paint the picture a little bit? Because, I was with you on that tour, too, because with the Cheers tour, you gave myself and Pimo an opportunity to come with you. It was this tour took off March 2020, dude, right?
Dude, we were 8 days in.
Yeah, and it was definitely scary to say the least. I remember that we were, like, over the border and, like, we had to, like, scurry back, but it just shows you, and I learned something that I learned from that is that, this stuff isn't guaranteed.
No,
things can be gone in a second, and just like, I always had that thought. I like always know that anything's not guaranteed, but it's different when it like gets ripped out right in front of you, and you're like, oh wow, I didn't even know.
I've had things go tits up before. I share that sentiment. It's like everything's a wild card in this business a lot of the time, but that was a hell of a wild card. That was like, all right, I didn't expect like a full global shutdown for like over a year.
Yeah, dude. So, how does, in that particular instance, because people might not know how much money goes that an artist needs to front to get a tour going, and how do you bounce back from something like that?
I mean, look, long story short, yeah, you gotta pay the people that come with you. I think it's good to pay them up front if you can, because I think it boosts morale, or at least pay them in chunks, so like if you're out for 4 weeks, pay them in 1 week chunks, and that way you can be like, oh hey, we're out for this first week. Before we even start, here's some get up and go money. It just adds a bit of security. It boosts morale. It shows people that you're not messing around, that you're professional. I fully agree in that. And so did Colin, my manager at the time. But, also to sell merchandise, you have to buy merchandise. So we had like $35,000 worth of merchandise in the trailer that we couldn't sell. And then we just had to load it into my garage. And it was like so terrifying because that was like so much merchandise. Like, that was crazy.
No, I even learned that from you too. Because, even today, like, I still have a lot of the Pimo and Mike Squires merch, but it's like definitely on a smaller scale. But even just getting into that tour, like one thing that I do appreciate, not to like change it, but it's like the guidance that you gave on that tour, like you really set us up for success. You know what I mean?
I want people to win most of the time. I think there's bad people and they can go fuck themselves, but you're not one of them, And I normally don't surround myself or align myself with them. I never got the whole gatekeeping, guard what's mine, don't let anybody else eat kind of thing. Like,
because there's really enough room for everybody.
Everybody can bring a dish, and it's a bigger meal. Like, it makes more sense. Like, we're going potluck, baby. Okay, we're going potluck up in this bitch. It makes so much more sense to me, and that takes it back to that very beginning of how I felt about music to start with. I like being with my homies and making music, and if there's something that I know, I want you to know it so that you can be just as good or not better than me.
Yeah, so I want to bring it back. So, you're loading up all the merch. Where's your head at, too? Because I know you have...
Oh, I went and had a good cry on the bus when Colin, my dog, I love him to death. Yeah, we've been friends since we were kids. He's no bullshit kind of guy, and he just dropped a number on me, and I was like, what's up? Like, I was I was standing to make enough money to not leave my house for like 2 years, which is ironic because I couldn't leave my house for 2 years.
Yeah.
But the goal was this tour would provide enough income for me to be home with my woman and my child for 2 years before I needed to think about going back out again or doing an album campaign or taking time away from them. And so just having that taken away from me was such a bummer, right? And look, that sounds super privileged. totally understand it. Not everyone gets that opportunity. I understand. But I worked my ass off for that, and I was really excited for that, and so was my partner, and it was a bummer. And not to mention, not only was that not going to happen, but now I'm fucking in the hole. Like, I got no money. So, yeah, that was scary. I remember sitting in the bus. I think we were in Spokane because they wanted us to come and do that show, so we did it anyways. And we most definitely should not have done that show, but we did. And then I posted from the bus, like, I think this is it. Like, this might be the death blow. Because it's a big one, and it's, you know, it hit all the major arteries. I think this is the death blow. And, dude, by the grace of whatever there is out there, I got bailed out by the fans. They bought all that merchandise. They supported me through live streaming. Twitch jumped right in and gave me a partnership with them, which I was able to monetize. They put me on the front page of Twitch. I did these like live beat sessions. I did these Monday happy hours. Yeah, I mean, I lived off of merchandise and live streaming.
And the thing too is like it's a good example of having to adapt, you know, because that's a lot of what music is. Because I know through the years you've just seen the whole game completely change, and it's like,
yeah, man. We used to call you, man, because we don't know how the internet works sometimes. You know, like we don't know how to YouTube. I still don't know how to YouTube. I'm on YouTube right now. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, it is like you want to talk about grinding it out on the road, numbers, like all that stuff. That shit is beaten into me. But when it comes down to this like digital warfare shit that you guys got going on for music, like, dude, you are everything, right? Like, you are the video guy, the photo guy, the music guy, the producer guy. Like, you have your hands in so many hats that you're able to provide for yourself off of this. And I just don't have the energy that you have, nor do I have the wherewithal to do that. I know that I need to be more present in these spaces, but it's also like when I signed my contract, I was like, we were selling records, dude. Like, we were moving them through stores. Like, I had to go out to Best Buy and, you know, do a PowerPoint presentation in a small little theater to all the regional reps so that we could end cap in the stores. Like, Spotify wasn't even in the U.S. when I signed my contract. Like, we had Pandora, but we were like, what the fuck that is? Like,
yeah,
it was not a thing. Like, we were spending more money, but we were making it back. And now it's like, you know, cats are signing deals, giving up 50% plus all their masters to make half of 0.0167 cents or whatever the hell it is. It keeps changing. It's a different game, but there's people getting rich off it.
Yeah.
So,
and you know, I do wear a lot of hats too, and there's like the flip side of it too. So one, I'll just say I'm super grateful because I'm able to live as an artist, whether I'm videos, music, whatever I'm doing, I'm able to do that full time. But there is an argument that I think sometimes that I'm spreading myself too thin a little bit, where it's like, you know, maybe if I only focus on the podcast, I could have a superstar podcast. Maybe if I only focused on my music, I could have, like, you know what I mean? But I also...
That's natural in anything, dude.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to, like, happiness, though, because it's like, well, all these things that I do bring me joy. So it's like, I don't even care about the metrics more. I don't care about the metrics more than my happiness. And, like, if I want to do this stuff, like, I just, like, think it's fun that I could, you know, come to Chris Webby's back porch and set up a podcast and just do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it showed out for us today, dude.
It really did, dude.
But you might be one of those people that's happy when you're moving, right? You're like
I
a
definitely
fucking
am
shark,
happy when I'm
dude.
moving,
Like,
dude.
you gotta be moving all the time, and you pee through your skin and shit. But like, I'm not that way. Like, I work hard so that I can sit down. It's kind of where I'm at a lot of the time. But I also have this like deeply romantic relationship with music that, like, I don't believe all the music that I make needs to be available to you. Like, I don't. For me, it's like a therapeutic thing that I do to clear my head. I'm bad without it. I'm better with it. And then, you know, there's the same thing. Like, maybe I could be better if I released everything. Maybe I could be better if I focused just more on this. Why do I gotta be producing this shit? Why does every song need to have jazz shit going? Like, I'm constantly wanting to change where I'm at because the relationship develops, right? Our love is still blossoming. And Yeah, you know, like I also want time to share with music, just me and music, and not have to have it all be my ass out on the internet.
What is the difference between the music that you decide to put out and the music that you keep for yourself?
I don't actually have an answer to that. I think there's something just clicks in my brain that goes, yeah, I want to share this, or yes, this is good enough, or no, this isn't good enough. But the process for me is like very important. It's like, you know, people go to work out and they're just better. Budo, like when Budo would be, if Budo didn't get to like run or ride a bike or something, he's just an asshole, right? So, but once he like got that out of his system, he was just like fully zenned in, right? But music is the same way for me. Like I just need to do it. That doesn't mean I need to release it.
Yeah, but it's just like the process is cathartic to you.
Straight up. And I believe that if I released everything I made, it would become redundant and it would just, you know, I want things to still be exciting. I know it's been a long time since I put a record out and, you know, definitely changing that in the very first part of 2025. But like, I don't know, man. I'm still trying to figure myself out after all this time.
Yeah, earlier in this pod, you talked about touring with Atmosphere. Like, what's something that you learned on the road with him?
Those guys are professionals. There is the party boy, oh my God, I'm on tour, turn the camera on, shit that you see on the internet. And then there's those guys. And those guys grind it out. There's no bullshit. Everything was put together. It was the first time I was like, oh, it's real. Like I was very excited to go on this tour. I was like, oh my God, it's going to be crazy. And the shows, they were crazy. But the fans, amazing. But his team locked in. And it wasn't, not in an unfun way, but like definitely taught me like if you want to maintain in this business, the touring business, you got to do it like them. And it because their whole thing was like grind it out on the road. So when I inked in 2009, I would just get beaten up with tour dates, dude. I was everywhere, always, all the time. I was 8 months on the road. Like, I didn't headline till 2011. So I was doing, 2-3 years of just getting my whole entire ass whooped by like any date that came my way. I think in that span, we did like 5 or 6 Atmosphere tours. We did that kind of Linguist tour. We did Grips of Support for Brother Ali tour at POS. Just everybody.
I can't even imagine how much touring you've done because I know that there was one year that you and I were just like in tour sync where it's like we were at the SPO show in Maine, the P-Dane Christmas.
Yeah, it was a big year.
Yeah, you did that one. And then I think we hopped on the road. You were opening up for Watsky, George, and then Webby. You know what I mean? So then I've just felt like we were so in sync. And then that was leading up to 20. So that must have been 2019. So then
I also did 2 or 3 headliners that year, plus a European run. Like Pants and I were yelling at each other by the end of that year. Like we could, that was an overkill. But we used to run it like that all the time. We used to do 14 days in a row, no breaks. Like madness, dude. And just none of it would have been achievable without that like work ethic that I learned from them.
What's one of the craziest tour stories that you have? I know you got to have millions, dude.
I mean, I do. I get asked this question a lot, and it just kind of like
blurs all together.
Yeah, it's always hard to answer because,
like, maybe like a struggle of getting to a show or like.
Yeah, I mean, I've had that happen. Like, I've always treated like I-80 through Wyoming, like leaving Salt Lake to go. You got to drive through Wyoming to get to Colorado. That's like my Bermuda Triangle, man. That road's been trying to kill me forever. But yeah, like our merch person, not intentionally, but she hydroplaned and hit a wall going like 75 miles an hour. I was in the back with no seatbelt on. I had just chugged a bottle of NyQuil because I was like, deuces, see you in Seattle. Yeah, I'm lucky to be alive from that. I think the NyQuil saved my life, which is crazy because I just got ragdolled around, totaled the van. We've also broken down on that road numerous of times and like had to like all pile in a tow truck. And then, this was when Twitter came out. I remember we had the venue put like you could like live feed a Twitter thing, So they put it on like a projection thing on the screen, and then we were driving, being like, we're 45 minutes away.
Oh, that's crazy,
we're 5
dude.
minutes out. We need 4 people out front, like ready to carry these cases. And then we need a path through the crowd. Like, it's pretty funny. But, you know, there's been debaucherous shit and crazy shit and violent shit and scary shit. I don't know, man. I just sight out of mind.
Yeah. Well, you know, with the accident on the road, what does that look like after? Are you canceling the rest of the tour? Or do you, like...
That was at the end of a tour.
Okay.
It was on the way home. So, no. I've only canceled, well, all them dates during COVID. But other than that, I think I've only canceled like 2 or 3 times in my whole career. Which is another thing. It was like, if you're sick, if you're sad, if you're fucked up, you do it anyways. Which is not the healthiest thing. I'm not actually campaigning for that. But
it's just kind of how tour is, you know? It's just got to push through sometimes because, like, it doesn't stop, you know?
No, and I did something I learned. I think one of the harder parts about tour is that we're all human, right? We have bad days. We don't feel good. You know, maybe we're having, like, relationship problems back home, or maybe someone's sick in the family, or, you know. Fans don't care. They spent the money. They want this experience. I think a lot will relate to you if you open up about it, but that's also a hard thing to do. I don't really feel like standing in front of 500 people and being like, hey, I just got yelled at for like 30 minutes by my partner, or hey, my grandpa's sick right now. I don't want to do that.
Yeah. So
it's like finding the mental space to be who they need you to be every night is a hard thing. It's a hard thing. I think it's why people turn to drugs and alcohol in this business and can't get out. It's just one of the things I've been good at, though, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, because I hear a lot of people say, like, the stage is kind of like their escape. You know what I mean? But, like, you know, there is a lot of people. I've been grateful to tour with, like, people that haven't been extremely reckless. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I hear about it all the time, dude. Have you ever toured with someone who's reckless? Obviously, you don't need to say their name, but have you ever had a crazy experience with, like, someone reckless that, like, you probably learned something from, you know, in a way of, like, what not to do?
Or in the sense that it's like, yeah, I mean, I've toured with tons of people that's like, man, you're just not built for this, right? Like, you think that this is a party that revolves around you. You got maybe 2 years in this. That's if you can make it that long. That's if you can even find a team to hold you up for that long. Because most of the time, people don't want to work with you when you act like that. No pros do, that's for sure. And then I've just had, you know, I've toured with some wild boys and done some wild boy shit. We'll leave it at that. But that's exhausting, and that's not something that can maintain, you know? Like, that 2011 tour was just like, I don't know how I made it out.
Yeah, dude. And, like, you know, that's a great way just to put touring in general, dude, because sometimes, like, some of the things that happen on tour are so ridiculous, but, like, you're already in this have to get there, that you just kind of ridiculously adapt. You're like making all the crazy phone calls like, no, I need this van right now, you know?
Oh, the moving pieces on tour is crazy. That's something that people don't understand. They think, especially at like my level, or even like Webby's in there dealing with some shit right now. Not to mention, every day there's an issue going on this tour, right? We know how to fix it because we've seen it all before. But the moving pieces, being able to hit those moving targets, is a huge part of your value when you're on tour. And it's one of my favorite parts. It's like keeps it interesting. It's like, oh, damn, all right, what's the wild card today? I like that. A lot of people don't, and it breaks them.
Yeah, no, I like it too, dude, because it's fun, though, where it's like, it's fun to have like an issue presented to you and you just like really be able to like, all right, I got it, let's do this. And
I bring it home with me too. Like, there, you know, something will happen at the house or something, or like, you know, we'll be on a trip and it'll be like, I got this. Are you kidding me? Like, I got this. Like, I know how to do this, which is cool. I feel like most people would give up. And for us, you know, giving up in those scenarios, there's a lot of money on the line. There's a lot of disappointment on the line. And then there's also just the part of you that's like, no, we're going to make this work. So I love that part of tour.
Yeah, I want to pull it back to some of your career too, because I know this is a simple question, but maybe it's not, dude. Where does your name come from, Greaves?
I don't know. I was a kid. I was like trying to sign up for a battle. I signed up as my name. the like radio DJ host was like, no, you need a rap name. There it is.
There it is, Grieves, dude.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm sure it came from some like sad boy shit, but like, I didn't think about it. I was just like, I walked around the block a few times and I was like, Grieves.
There we are, dude.
I'm too lazy to change it, so here we are.
Where do you start seeing success, though? Like, what's your like first big moment of success as Grieves?
I think on a level that most people would understand, it would be that Atmosphere tour in 2007. And to paint that picture, like, I was asked to go as a DJ for the openers. And in return that they could use, like, my van. And I was like, I'm not a DJ. I can, and I will. But I want to rap, like, if you're in the van and I'm DJing, I want to rap one, just open up a verse. So they're like, cool. And then they put another person in the van that was also an opener, and I was like, same deal. So it turned out that I was like rapping the whole night until Atmosphere's set, which was a great look for me. And that I knew I couldn't get anybody to buy my CD off of that, right? And this is 2007, so like LRG just came on the scene. They're making really loud, annoying clothes, like, so I'm wearing bright colors so that people recognize me. And I print up 10,000 demos of Irreversible, which had just came out in July. And I just knew that I wouldn't be able to sell it, right? But I wanted people to hear it. So I printed out 10,000 demos of like 4 songs, like a sampler of Irreversible. And I had 10,000 conversations. I handed them all out. And when I came back from that, it had paid itself back tenfold from iTunes sales. Like, people went and bought the record on iTunes. Because, there was nowhere for me to really sell it. So my manager was like, oh shit, we got to get a CD Baby. So we got a CD Baby account, but we did it through like a third party who was also taking a percentage. So we got boned on that. But yeah, we started moving records and we started seeing there was a momentum. We got front page of MySpace. A bunch of things started happening then people started calling.
Dude, and even with what that story that you just said, there's so much value that you provided. Literally the first thing is like providing value. You were able to provide a value to Atmosphere's camp, because I feel like a lot of time, you always hear the artist where it's like, put me on, give me a shot. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not like, the best way to do it is provide a value that like the artist or not even just artists, any career like can use, so in your instance, you had the van, you know what I mean? But it's like,
make no mistake either. We were helping Atmosphere's team load in, load out every night. We were carrying all the merch. I was helping James with the merch. Any issue that arose, I was standing right. I was there to learn. I was there to perform and do that, but I was there to soak up game primarily. And game I did soaketh.
Well, dude, I think people underestimate the value in soaking up game. You know what I mean? Because they like, sometimes I think people just got the game all screwed up, right?
Or they think that they are the game, which is some old bullshit. And you see it time and time again. I can't express. That's like the most common thing I see is like somebody who believes that they got it all figured out or it all revolves around them. And they're nowhere to be seen right now. So.
No, dude. Not out here, dude. Another thing, though, because, earlier in the pod, you said, like, we talked about the fans kind of like, getting you back on track, where it's like, and you talked about working hard for it. It's like the CDs is a great example because that's an investment in time that you put in that, in the immediate right then and there, you're not seeing the return on it right there until people are actually, becoming a fan of Greaves and going to check him out. But it's like,
it costs $10,000 to print those demos.
That's all I'm saying, dude. So it's like, sometimes I think people, and forget just the money too. Don't forget the money, but like the time too. Yeah. It's like, I see a lot of artists that'll do these shows and like they'll do their set and then they won't talk to anybody, dude. It's like, that's not how you spread awareness, connect with anybody. Like, you got to put in the time. Especially
at that level. Like, I get it at the headliner. It's exhausting. You can't be there for everyone, especially in those size rooms. I understand that. That's why you create experiences like VIP so you can like make that happen. But if you are, and sometimes main support is also very large. I get all that. But if you're starting out, you shouldn't even, we never went backstage. Like we did, like we'd put our bag back there, but we weren't kicking it backstage. I was out front the whole night until I had to run up and do my shit, and then I would run right back to whatever I was doing. I'm sick of seeing these like local cats pull up and want to be in the green room and talk with us. I can't help you. I mean, like, sure, I could provide opportunities for you, but I'm not gonna buy your shit. Everyone that can help you more than me is out there, and they want to meet you. And you're back here drinking my Jameson, acting like an asshole. You should be out there talking to the fans, and you should not care so much what I think, but more about what they think, because that is the most important thing. That's your fan base. That's your bloodline. Like, I just don't get it, man.
No, and I think if a lot of artists had that mindset of, you know, understanding what their actual goals are, more people would be artists. But that's the thing. I think there aren't that many people that are artists because it is a tough game, dude. It is hard to become an artist. And it's also, you know, another thing that you talked about earlier in the pod is like, at certain points you felt like you didn't have like a point person like that could give you guidance. Like, no. Do you feel like you had a mentor or not really?
I do, yeah. Shout outs Jaybird from Rhymesayers. Like, there were times where you were really mean to me. And I believe those were times where I really needed you to be mean to me. So thank you. But yeah, I would consider Jaybird to be a strong and heavy mentor.
What's something you learned from him?
Dude, fucking everything. Like, I soaked up so much game from that dude, be it business or touring, value in this business. There is a certain value to exposure that I learned from them. And it just, I don't know, that dude's a legend. Like, shout out Jaybird. A lot of the camp over there I learned a lot from. You know, I still learn from people like Ashanti, who ended up starting like a touring thing called Turnwheel. It's kind of like Master Tour, but it's way more intuitive.
Oh, that's really cool, dude.
It's pretty sick. Shout outs to Ashanti. But yeah, there's, you know, some managers like Mike out of a Stop House, even though, you know, we've always kind of been on the same level. Like, I learn a lot from him because, you know, he's dealing with different problems. I think that's great. Tap in with the people around you, because I might be really good at a technical problem. You might be really good at a administrative problem. You're really good with the internet shit. There's just like, you know, I learn a lot from my friends.
Dude, and the thing too is like, I think people also underestimate like how DIY and how much, because for example, like I know you're on tour with Webb. You guys don't know this, but who did all of Webb's lights? You know what I mean? It was like...
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, dude. So it's like, you know, being able to have skills like that outside of just being an artist, you know, provide a lot of value and make your show sicker. And, you know...
Yeah, and then, you know, that's one thing about technology. Like, I'm not saying I'm technologically inept. I definitely am, like, I'm great in the studio. I'm great with... that. It's just the internet kind of escapes me sometimes, but that it's different. That's not really technology.
Good old algorithm,
that's
dude.
Social networking.
Yeah.
We paid for marketing campaigns back in the day. Someone else did that shit for us. I'm not great. I'm not a marketing guy. It doesn't come naturally to me. But yeah, like you were saying with Webb's lights, like we programmed that for him. It was something that he was told that couldn't be done. By someone who probably just didn't want to do it, right? And it's like, all right, what are our choices here? Hire a lighting tech, of course, right? Yes, shout out to all my lighting techs. Like, yeah, but do we always have the budget or the room or the capacity to bring someone like that? Nah. But does that mean you don't get to have this thing? No. Would it be better if we had a lighting tech? Hell yes, right? But you can automate things, right? Like, look at our live setup. Like, we bring crazy lights. We automate everything out of the Universal Apollo 16. Shout out to UA. You guys are great. Thank you for helping us and supporting us on our journey. So that I can provide this studio quality sound when we show up to the venue. And we do. And people are like, how do you sound like this when they sound like that? It's like, I put the time into it. And I care so much. And that's one thing I learned from the Atmosphere Camp too. They have the money to bring those people. I don't, but I still want those things. So how do I achieve it?
Yeah, and it's funny that you talk about all this stuff, because another thing, you helped me and P set up our like touring rig with our in-ears and our mic.
I built everybody and their mama's in-ear rig in this goddamn thing.
Dude, ever since you've done that and I've pulled up to a venue for a show with that thing, the respect has gone from like here to here immediately, because it's like, you know, it just shows that, one, you're making their job way easier, too, because you're self-contained, and two, it's just like you know what you're doing. You know what I mean?
So here's been something I've always like, this is what I learned. This is the biggest thing I learned from the Rhymesayers camp. And I don't know if this is their intention, but this is something that I noticed that I wanted, was that every venue across the world that I've been in with them, everyone there is so excited to have them there. And I'm not talking about the fans, I'm talking about the venue staff. They are elated to see Randy. They love Rio. You know, Randy is the sound tech, Rio's the lighting tech. They love seeing, you know, the people that work for Atmosphere, because they're professional. They show up, they have good attitudes, they don't talk shit, they don't do the grumpy sound guy thing. They're good people, and they leave lasting impressions. And I believe that they would ask for any Rhymesayers person to come because they believe that that is the mentality. And that is something that I held strong as hell to my camp. I will send you home if I catch you popping off at a venue employee. Even if they're popping at you, I do not care. You will go home. We want to be there. Now, there's always exceptions, but we want to be the ones where they're like, man, those guys only sold 100 tickets, but damn, I love them. I want them back. I worked in venues. I work in venues. I still work in a venue. I love the problem solving that comes with live music. So I put myself around it so I can stay good at it and just be around it. I want the sound guy, when you show up, to think that, oh, this guy thought of me. He's just going to hand me tails. I already have his set list or his input list, and it matches up truly with what he has. It's not one from 3 years ago. It's truly what he has. When you settle, you're respectful. It's okay to bust balls if you need to on numbers, but you're respectful and you look at the things the way they are, and you show grace to the people around you. You respect the bartender's time. They don't want to be there all night waiting for you to load out or to give you a drink after they close the bar down. Just chill. Like, we want to be the ones that the venue goes, we like them. They're great.
And another thing, too, the music industry is so much smaller than people might think. So your reputation is really everything. You think people, if you're a jerk or, at one venue, people talk, you know what I mean? Like, gets around. And, obviously people have bad days and there's isolated incidents. But, I mean, if this is, a consistent factor of you just, people talk. There's just no way around it. It's like, oh, man, that dude is kind of a jerk off. You know what I mean?
Personally, there are people and places and agents and stuff that I will never work with based on my first impression on them. First impressions are most often than not last impressions in this business, right? So your first impression should be good.
It really is important, too, dude, because it's like... I really do believe your reputation is everything, and it's also how you can make further things happen for you. Up. You know what I mean? Where it's like, Greaves is great. You should bring Greaves on your tour.
He's not going to blow the doors off the club, but we like him. We're going to have him. We're going to give him a modest offer. We're all going to eat tonight. It's great. Well, let's maintain this working relationship. If you want longevity in this business, you're not always going to be number one. I'm not number one. I never was number one, but I still get to work because I'm a nice dude and I care about what I'm doing and I'm super professional. So
yeah, I'm going to start pulling this to the end zone, so I got a couple more questions.
Yes, I'll kiss you.
Right now? No. Yeah. So what's some advice that you have, for artists, just, first thing that comes to mind?
Well, one thing I've always said is, make your music, right? Because anytime anybody sends me a song that I guess isn't on the level... Let's say people starting out, right? They're like, oh, I want a feature from Greaves. That would help me. It won't. I understand the mind state. But if you send me a song that sounds like a song that I make and try to get me on it, it just sounds like you got a worse version of a song that I make for you. And that doesn't help either one of us. And then you're just pandering to me. It's cool to be influenced by people. I'm influenced by people all the time. And I even sit down with people in mind. But I think it's important to make your version of that, your truth, your music is the only thing that will determine if people can see through what is a just constant hailstorm of bullshit flying at them in this business? Your originality is really the only thing you have to sell to people. So truly think about that. And beyond just the music, like the way that you are, like you don't have to pretend to be anybody. Like you're most likely cool enough. Just focus in on those things so that you can do it over and over again. Because once it does hit, people want you to do it just over and over and over. And if you're doing something that's not authentic,
it's going to be hard to do it again.
It's going to get, you won't be able to do it. So, do your thing, find your music, find your voice is really important. Super cliche. Pretty sure people say that shit all the time, but I do believe it to be true.
No, and I think you also put it in a way where I think it breaks it down and makes sense of why.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like, everyone's always like, be yourself, but you kind of spelt it out where it's like, be yourself so you continue to be yourself. And that's, if you can find success being yourself, it's the easiest thing you'll be able to do for the rest of your life because all you got to do is what you've been doing, you know? So.
I also believe like beyond that, like on a technical aspect of things, like, look, you can't work in a kitchen and not know how to use a knife. It's just, this is one of these weird businesses where it's just like, I don't know, I'll just rap. You are putting yourself at a disadvantage by relying on people that can either take advantage of you or not care about your standards. So to learn the tools of your trade, I think are really important. You don't have to be a master, right? Like you don't have to be a world-class mixing or master engineer, but understanding the concept that goes into those things, I think is really important. Understanding what a microphone is, what a cable is, how to wrap a cable.
Chill.
Chill. Showing up with like, dude, how many rappers show up with no mic? You're going to show up to
crazy,
a lawn,
dude.
You own a lawn service, you're going to show up without a lawnmower, you want to use mine? That's crazy. Like, invest in the tools of your trade and learn them.
Yeah.
Like the classic like military thing where they can like break the gun down blindfolded. Like part of that should exist within you so that you have the knowledge to create your own success in a degree in that realm, because you're going to get shitty sound guys. You're going to get people that say they can help you but can't. I think it's just important to learn the tricks of the trade.
I always say the less that people can offer you, the better off you'll be.
That's great. I love that. I'm going to take that. That's mine now.
Well, then with that being said, what is your message to the world, dude?
Chill the fuck out, man. Shit. It's not that serious.
No, it's not that serious, dude. Well, Greaves, I appreciate you coming on the podcast, dude. Fun day. We made it happen, dude.
Yeah, this was good, Squires. I didn't really know how it was going to go, but I really... This just reminds me of like a talk we would have had in the back of like the Watsky bus or something like that. And, I don't feel like any of these questions are forced or patronizing, so I appreciate it.
It's really sick too, because it's like, it does become like, it's funny because like, one side of it, like we are filming it for a podcast, but another side of it is like, a lot of this is kind of like a genuine catch up, and also some genuine questions I have about my homies. Like,
yeah, and I do believe some of this stuff is valuable. I don't really get to talk about it that much, and it's just like you can take it for what it is. So people that will watch this and be like, fuck that, like, nah, and that's fine too. That's your prerogative. That's your choice. But like, this is my journey. This is how I completed it. I'm not here forever. I'm here now. So we'll just kind of see how it goes. But like, you should think about these moments and this time that you're in, and if you want it to be there when you're 40, which I currently am. So I'm grateful for my time and in this space.
Yeah, and if people wanted to connect with you, how could they? Where could they find you on the interwebs, dude?
I mean, you just put my name in, Grieves, into the Mr. Google will tell you where to find me. But yeah, I don't know. Whatever. I don't do TikTok very well, so don't even try there. I don't like the Twitter thing. They call it X, so don't even try there. Instagram, but I'm not great at it. Facebook, I try. I have a website called grievesmusic.com. I tour like a monster still. In 2025, I'm about to beat the whole entire fucking ass off this thing, so...
Stay tuned for all the dates and stay tuned for some new music.
Yeah, I got dates up right now for the Out Cold tour. So if you live in the Midwest-y or kind of Southwest-y area, we're doing, we're going Seattle, Vancouver, Spokane, Portland, Boise, Salt Lake, Denver, Fort Collins, Albuquerque, Durango, Tucson, Phoenix, San Diego, LA. We're coming at you in February, so buy 7 tickets. You need 7.
At least 7.
Dude, get 7.
My guy, dude.
Thank you,
Appreciate
brother.
you coming on, dude.
Yeah.